Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we're back with another Total War Warhammer video. So today I wanted to sit down and talk about the Ogre Kingdoms, as we've already seen, well, everything about them and what we're going to get in Warhammer 3, though a lot of people have pointed out that yes, there are some stuff missing, named characters and some units too, which is really weird because normally race packs nowadays are quite complete. Obviously, this opens up the way for potential DLC in the future, which I guess nobody would really mind as long as the roster does eventually get completed. Well, we have no other choice at this point anyway. So what I want to do in this video is talk about the missing units and the missing characters, as there's a few, and we could potentially get some DLC and FLC. So without further ado, let's just jump right in. I'm going to work my way down the army book, so we're going to start off with the Bruiser, a basic melee hero type of character. Think of the Empire Captain and so on, and that's pretty much it, just in ogre form. It's kind of strange that these were omitted because we have Tyrants, and Tyrants are the Lord version, whilst Bruisers were just the standard hero version. Of course, we are getting a few different heroes with the Ogre Kingdoms at the moment, but we're not really getting a dedicated melee hero, which yes, melee heroes aren't really too needed, especially since we have access to spellcasters like the Firebelly, and the Hunter is likely to play the same role as it did on the tabletop, which was range melee hybrid, but still, it's kind of strange that we don't have something which is literally just a reskin. Plus, they were kind of popular on the tabletop, believe it or not. Well, mostly because they could be standard bearers, and we don't have standard bearers here, but they could be implemented in such a way that they could provide army buffs and so on, and just be that type of buff type hero. Does that make sense? Of all the things that are missing, this is the one that just confuses me the most, because like I said, it's just a reskin, though we've had that already when it comes to, say for example, the chieftains for the Skavens, so yeah, it's likely to come in a DLC in the future. It's just weird that we have to pay for a reskin. Well, a direct reskin. Next we have Yetis, and the reason why I think we're going to get a DLC in the future is because we're missing a lot of Frost type of units. So Yetis are an offshoot of the Ogre. They're in fact Ogres which got corrupted very heavily after the Ogres had defeated the Sky Titans and tried to stay there for a while. The Ogres that remained eventually were twisted and turned and ended up being these malformed monsters. They're not creatures of chaos, just the chaotic energies did shape them to be this way. Now, Yetis were always kind of fun on the tabletop because, well, they were pretty good at doing damage. The fact is that they were able to cause fear, as most of the Ogre roster. They were flammable because, yeah, ice monsters, and they had Swift Stride, which made them quite good to move around the battlefield. They also looked pretty interesting, but what made them so special was their Aura of Frost, as you can see here. The Aura of Frost gave them a, well, magical aura, which reduced the chances of enemy weapons to hit the Yetis, or anything that's pretty much in the same combat zone. Believe it or not, this was very useful when fighting against, say for example, Empire, Elves too. Elves had very high weapon skill, so if you could take them down a little bit, it did help. Plus, they were so visually different from the other bits of the Ogre roster that sometimes you wanted some variety, so you used to bring Yetis just for that. I myself used to use them because, yeah, cool. As always with Warhammer, cool factor is very important, and it's a shame that they didn't get implemented here, as a Aura of Frost would be very useful. As you are aware, the Ogres are in the Mountains of Morn, which is slap dab in the middle of pretty much everyone's fighting, so the Ogres are going to be up for a lot of fighting. You've got Chaos to the north, Kislev to your west, Grand Cathay to your east, and eventually, if they ever get added in, to the south would be the Chaos Dwarves, so having something to help you would be kind of cool. And like I said, they're just awesome units. Now, for all the things that were omitted, I'm the most disappointed about the fact that we're not getting Thunder Tusks. You see, Thunder Tusks were like Yetis, but, well, on steroids. Let's just call it that. A massive monster which was very visually impressive on the battlefield and had a lot of lore. This was a time that Games Workshop were trying to fluff up the Ogre Kingdoms as much as possible and made them have a lot of backstory. Now, the monsters themselves, they were so well liked because, well, it's another big monster, and of course, Ogres, you wanted big monsters, but they had loads of different rules to them too. There was one aura called the Numbing Chill, which made every enemy always strike last. That was very, very helpful if you were fighting, say for example, Elves. They could also be turned into a ranged unit, as you can see, with a special type of stone thrower, making them a mobile and very terrifying artillery piece. It's very similar to that of the Stonehorn with its rider, but more on the fact of a scrap launcher in a sense. They were really fun to use, and it's a shame that we're not going to get them until a possible DLC in the time. Plus, you can see the model on screen right now. It's pretty cool. It's got loads of different rules to it. It could just be visually imposing, and yeah, I mean, that looks like it could just go into an enemy army and start throwing around infantry like if it was nothing. Now, there's not that many missing units. There is a White Dwarf Noblar list, though I'm not too sure how Creative Assembly and Games Workshop see that as canon or not anymore. It's a very strange thing where GW and CA pick and choose from the additions, yet they say that they're stuck on 8th. It's very odd. So what we can start doing now is moving on to the named characters, as there are quite a few that are missing, which is again super weird considering that we're only getting 2 legendary lords. I was honestly hoping for at least 3 or 4 because, you know, having some variety would be useful, especially since we know now that Greasus and Scrog are so far away from each other. The first missing character is Golgfag Maneater. For a little bit of a lore tidbit over here, the reason why all other ogre man-eaters are named that is because they're named after him. They all were so impressed by his deeds that they wanted to pretty much just venerate him. And he's a cool character. His special rules on the tabletop were more focused around, well, buffing himself up. You can see here it's just getting him some items, and you could also buff up some man-eater units. So if this character was ever implemented, I'd like to see him as a legendary lord. I mean, he just kind of sounds like a legendary lord material, with his abilities being, of course, to buff up man-eaters, maybe have some extra variants of man-eaters, because right now we only have a few, and there were so many different types when it came to the tabletop. I understand why Creative Assembly couldn't translate all the man-eater stuff into Total War Warhammer 3, because, well, it was being next to impossible, believe me. It was just really complicated. You could have units doing so many different things, it would just be kind of overpowered. But if you could have a few different types of man-eaters, or a special man-eater creation thing, very similar to that of Frot's kind of lab mechanic, that could work really well, to be honest. Plus, he's just a generally cool character, another melee-focused character, but then again, Greasus is on the cart, Scrog is a spellcaster, so a basic melee lord, legendary lord, would be kind of fun. It depends, obviously. It really depends on what the player base wants, and what Creative Assembly could make from this character to make him unique. Maybe give him a special mission mechanic. It's very strange because obviously the ogres have something already like that, so making him unique is going to be kind of difficult. Next we have Bragg the Gutsman, and to be honest, he is just a run-of-the-mill melee character. He's got some fun lore and so on, but nothing really too special in terms of special rules too. It was mostly the fact that he was a duelist, but that's pretty much it. The character was just kind of forgettable, though he does have a really cool model, he does have a really cool look. I would see him being implemented as a legendary hero. A fun way he could be implemented would be a neutral legendary hero for all ogre legendary lords. And by that I mean, like, say he would spawn on the map in a very similar sense to that of Gotrek and Felix. You'd have to go to him, complete a series of quests, and then recruit him, and he'd be stuck permanently to your faction. I think something like that could be done in a very fun way and give the AI less incentivization to actually go get him, but you could still get him. So if, say for example, Scrog gets it and you're playing as Greasus, then you'd have to confederate with Scrog to be able to get him, or if Scrog's faction gets destroyed, then he becomes a free agent again. I don't know, something like that could be kind of fun, though something like that could work very well for Maneater too, though I see Maneater as a legendary lord and the Gutsman as a legendary hero. It's kind of hard to tell for these things because the ogres really didn't have a lot of time to get fluffed out in the lore of Warhammer Fantasy. They were kind of new in a sense, so a lot of stuff with fluff and just general stuff wasn't really too known. We would have probably gotten more if we would have been in 9th edition now or 10th, but, well, we all know how that went. Everything from the army book has been covered with this video. Of course, we have everything else from the official roster. There's not that much missing. Maybe some laws of magic for the Slaughtermasters and the Butchers, because, yeah, they're kind of missing stuff. Though I imagine that some modders are going to implement that in pretty much day one. There are 2 other missing legendary characters that were implemented in the lore. There were a few others, but none of them really had anything of difference or of note, better yet said. So let's talk about Gark Ironskin. Now, this is another melee-based ogre, and the reason why this character is so well known is because he's actually allied up with the Chaos Dwarfs. He gets them slaves, they give him gifts. It's a bit of an agreement, and, well, it worked out very well for him, as they also made him a giant mechanical Rhinox. Yeah, he doesn't ride a standard Rhinox, he has something specialized made for him, and it's got a little bit of demonic sentience too. This is a character which was implemented, I believe, in a White Dwarf supplement, and that's pretty much it, which is a shame, but he's kind of cool, he's very unique, and the reason why I think this character could come in eventually wouldn't be as part of a DLC, but rather an FLC attached to the Chaos Dwarfs. I mean, this is a character, like, allied with the Chaos Dwarfs, so it would work out quite well, to be honest. Make this a FLC character if you purchase the Chaos Dwarfs, and you're pretty much golden. Maybe even be able to recruit some Chaos Dwarf stuff to mix up with your ogres. That might be kind of fun and present a hybrid faction. A lot of people have been asking for hybrids, and we know that there's a lot of different hybrids in lore, so this could work out really well, and I mean, I'm liking the idea. I don't know how it would work though, because that means that you would need to have access to the Chaos Dwarfs and the Ogre Kingdoms to use this character, or just the Chaos Dwarfs and have a very limited Ogre roster mixed in for some Chaos Dwarfs. I don't know, it sounds very weird, though it would be nice to have some really strange characters being implemented, but I guess we're gonna have to wait and see. I would love to see this character though. I mean, all they would really have to do is just reskin the mount, and then just reskin an ogre, and pretty much sorted. And lastly, we have Brawl Slave Lord. This is another ogre which is friends with the Chaos Dwarfs, mainly because, you know, slavery and Chaos Dwarfs works out very well. They've come to agreements with certain things. He was implemented way back in 6th edition, I believe, and that's pretty much it. But what made this character very special is this character was a necromancer. It's the only ogre, I believe, in lore that was able to be a necromancer. His lore goes back to the fact that he was a man-eater and he was imprisoned by a necromancer and eventually learnt how to use these powers, mostly because he ate the necromancer and, yeah, you know, ogres. It would be a very drastically different character if this was ever implemented. He could be a legendary lord or a legendary hero, having access to some necromancy spells, lore of vampires, or maybe just a lore of undeath if he ever gets implemented around the time of Nagash, because Nagash had his own special lore. But it could be kind of fun to have another hybrid style faction. Think about it this way: ogres mixed up with undead, zombies and stuff like that. Nothing too big, but yeah, hybrid factions are kind of cool, and having hybrid factions will increase replayability of the game a lot more, because, say for example, if we have a hybrid faction with just a bit of each of the rosters, you're going to get a little bit of a different playstyle. You're going to want to play it as it would be very different to, say, a standard ogre faction or a standard vampire faction. It would be kind of cool, but again, we're going to have to wait and see, though I'm hoping for this character because he sounds cool. A cool factor, again, is the main thing. But that's pretty much it when it comes to the ogres. Like I said, there's a few characters, but they were never really brought into lore. They were just little tidbits here and there, and they didn't have models, of course. There's also the Naldor list, which, if you guys want, I'll do a dedicated video on the Naldor list in the future, but this was the main thing, and yeah, it's just a bit weird. I'm still wondering why we only got 2 legendary lords. I'm not going to complain because the roster does sound kind of cool and the mechanics sound fun, but hopefully we'll see some more stuff in the future. But let me know what you guys think about these characters and if I missed anything, because I've gone through a list of what I had written down. I might have missed something, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VS Vasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.